My name is Sam Evans from the University of Newcastle, and I'm a lecturer in mechanical engineering. Here today to present some case studies on how we use Vuforia Studio in the classroom to enhance student experience. So if your newsfeed is anything like mine, it's just full of a lot of blog posts, documents, articles, clickbait, pop pieces about AR and VR and how it's going to disrupt education, how it's going to disrupt engineering and manufacturing. And it can be pretty overwhelming. It can be pretty hard to think, okay, there's big disruptions happening, we have the resources, we have the techniques, but what does it mean in practice? As an academic, what does it mean in the classroom for the student experience? So my AR journey started with one of the most unlikeliest collaborations imaginable. So at the University of Newcastle, we have a team of midwives that teach the Bachelor of Midwifery degree, and they're actually pioneering the use of the Microsoft HoloLens to teach childbirth. So very unique, a process that isn't easily repeatable, a process that doesn't translate well from the textbook to real life. And they're using this technology to bridge that gap. So to go from textbook knowledge to a hospital environment and using an AR, VR experience to bridge that knowledge gap and enhance student training and student experience. I thought, great, this is a really good idea, we need to implement this in engineering. But as I said before, I just didn't really know where to start. So out of the blue, shot them an email, got a response back, and we're well on our way to developing a program for engineering. So that's the very unlikely start to my AR journey. So part of my role as a lecturer in mechanical engineering is teaching design to first year engineering students. So there's about 190 students, and we teach them Introduction to CAD, so computer-aided design using PTC Creo. We also teach them graphical communication skills, so using Creo to produce orthographic drawings, top, front, side view of various parts and components. And we also round out the course with some workshop skills. So it's the whole design life cycle. We're building a part in Creo, we're producing a drawing, okay, go to the workshop and build it. But the key part of this course, the key learning outcome, is that interpretation between a 2D drawing and the manufactured 3D part. So this course culminates in the build of this Stirling engine here. So they're given a series of 2D drawings. They're given a series of stock blank parts. They're given workshop time, and they're to produce this Stirling engine. So an external combustion engine. Gives them some first-hand experience with using the drill press and basic milling, turning on the lathe, really the fundamentals of workshop skills. And it's a lot of fun. So the engineers love it, it's the highlight of the end of the semester, and a lot of them take to it like a duck to water. But there is a problem. And the problem, surprise, surprise, is this interpretation between 2D drawings and a 3D part. So a lot of engineers have highly developed skills in this respect, but there are a number of students that come to me and they say, Sam, I just don't get what this part is, and I don't really get how it works on the page and where it sits in the finished component. A little bit surprising, but hey, it is a problem we need to overcome. The treatment, as usual, has been, we'll go and revise the textbook. And it's a bit of a cop-out, it's a bit of an unsatisfying answer. And if they've been using the textbook to learn drawing all semester, they're probably not going to gain much more from it now. So the problem we're trying to solve is using AR, so using Vuforia Studio to bridge that gap from a 2D drawing to a 3D manufactured component. So we're not replacing any theoretical knowledge, we're not replacing any components, and we're not getting rid of the textbook altogether, but we're simply augmenting that experience for the student. So using Vuforia Studio, I was able to develop an app using Vuforia View. So 190 students could view it on their smartphone. So this, I should have actually done video capture. The screen capture doesn't quite do it justice. But it's a fully functioning Stirling engine that can be assembled, disassembled, you can animate, you can zoom in to look at various detail, you can rotate it in 3D space. So what it does is before students have even set foot in the workshop, they know what they're going to do. So they understand the workflow, they understand how it all fits together, so they're not going to be wasting precious workshop time trying to read drawings. So they can do preparation before actually entering the workshop environment. Just like the midwives at the start of my story could do preparation for their childbirth before actually being placed on placement. So as another example, the students are given this stock that they're set to turn down to size on the lathe, mill down to size, and place holes with the drill press. And they can have their finished product there, and they can actually lay those parts and do a virtual assembly before even setting foot in the workshop. So it helps develop confidence and familiarity. Okay, but enough from me about the student feedback. So I did survey the students at the end of the experience. This is really important for academics who are looking to roll out AR or VR solutions using Vuforia Studio. Very important to get student feedback. Really important to quantify the results. So on the whole, students agreed, yeah, it improved my spatial skills. So it actually helped me interpret 2D drawings to a 3D part. So that's a big win in itself. They said it's more engaging, motivating, and fun than 2D drawings alone. I think often as educators we forget about the fun part. You know, they want to be at uni, they want to learn, they want to get involved, they just want to have a bit of fun. An interesting point that I didn't think about before was a lot of students said it improves safety and confidence. So once again, this is using AR in techniques that could be potentially hazardous or inductions that can't be repeated all the time. So these can be used to improve workshop safety and confidence. Because a lot of students are entering the workshop, I mean, some of them haven't even used a hammer or a screwdriver before. Like this is really, really bare bones stuff. And it can be quite intimidating to enter a workshop with potentially hazardous equipment. And using the AR to give them some familiarization really helps with that confidence. I've opened a can of worms because they've also said that it's got to be used more by teaching staff. So we're in this funny position where students have used AR and VR. You know, they use it to play video games and what have you. We're the ones lagging behind. You know, the academics really are lagging behind in this place. And the customer, the students, are expecting that it's got to be used more for education. So we're really behind the 8 ball on this. As with any new or novel teaching development, there are some potential teething issues. A few students disagreed that it helped collaboration. So they said, well, I'm kind of here with my smartphone doing my own little thing. It didn't really aid collaboration, which is something I still have to work through by myself. Feedback. They said it was a bit hard to get instructive feedback with the experience. I guess the nature of these AR, VR experiences is that they're individualized, they're personal, they're just you and your device. And in an educational framework, we're going to have to think more about how we can give real life feedback to the student. And another potential issue is some of the more competent students say, well, it's just a single use case. You know, I'm pretty confident, I can interpret between 2D and 3D drawings, it's not a real problem for me. And that's fine. Like with any technology, there's going to be pros and cons. A few reflections in no particular order. One of the key take-home for me was collaborate outside your comfort zone. So Vuforia Studio, fairly easy entry barrier. So you have people from non-technical disciplines becoming more and more involved, which I think is great. So it's no longer the domain of software engineers, computer scientists, mechanical engineers, who really are breaking down these barriers to the point where at our university, the midwifery school is actually the leader of this AR technology. A discipline not renowned for its use of augmented reality. So highly recommend it. To a lot of educators, universities do have growing creative industry schools and support networks for staff, so please tap into those, they're a valuable resource. Another stumbling block that I came across is innovation is a bit of a liability. So what on earth does that mean? So as an educator, my metrics and KPIs, they're easily measurable. Student numbers, academic papers, grant money. Okay, you can quantify that, you can put numbers behind that. But one of the challenges is innovation. How do you quantify success? How do you put numbers and how do you put value about that? It's not applicable just to academia. I'm sure any other large industry experimenting with innovative techniques, they can be quite hard to quantify success. Another stumbling block I came against was university policy. Steve can also testify to that when I was onboarding the software, is some of the policies aren't really set up for this technology. Is it software? Is it hardware? Is it a bit of a lab equipment? Whose budget is this coming out of? So while I guess the nature of the group here today are highly innovative and keen to adopt these new techniques, there are some potential stumbling blocks for large industry that may be lagging behind. In terms of student feedback, overwhelmingly positive. It was engaging, it was motivating, and it was fun. And the take home for the students is this is expected in the future. So it's used for video games, used for other daily consumer products, got to be used in the classroom. So to wrap up, in a nutshell, these transformative technologies, AR, VR, they're a work in progress, but a really big future for education.